we value what we can measure, and the things we tend to measure is memory, not understanding. There was a time not too long ago when having somebody in the room who had a really good memory was a useful thing.
Oh yeah.
Because information was hard to come by. But now every one of us in our pocket has all the world's data in their pocket, and so that's no longer a meaningful skill. Memory is not. Doesn't mean that understanding is. So if an interesting question comes up, understanding what to Google, what to search, that's important. So understanding is important, but memory, not so much.
Probably how to use those understandings,
that's right.
How to use those memories, that's more important.
That's right.
And yeah, I see like if you're playing a game, of course you have to access the memory, a little bit of that.
Yep.
But it's more about how to use all this, what you have to solve problems, right?
And the kinds of things that if we've genuinely learn something means to construct a mental model of it, to understand the concepts behind it. The easy example to imagine in chemistry, sometimes we make students memorize the periodic table, but what we should really be doing is making sure that they understand what the model of an atom, how an atom works and how molecular bonding works and the different shells that electrons are in. Because if you understand that model, then the atomic weight becomes something easy. You don't have to remember the atomic weight of iron. You understand what makes up atomic weight. Yeah. And if I tell you that this is the atomic weight of iron, you know that that means how many protons, how many neutrons. So you don't need to remember everything. You just need the model. So that's true, I think, in all learning. So the more robust the model we have of a process, the easier information then sticks. If I really sort of understand the process, say, of nation build, of say, then I start to remember the dates of different political actors because I sort of understand that larger process.
So. Yeah, I think that's great. We can teach models instead of focusing on knowledge,
that's right, content. Yeah, that's right.
So models itself, it's a bit broad in terms. Like I don't understand it so much, but can you talk about specifically maybe what is a model and like how to teach it? Maybe?
Sure. A model really means a way of understanding how a system works and being able to well enough to actually describe it and maybe make predictions. So if I understand, so a simple model is gravity. We sort of all have some sense of gravity. And so we know things are going to fall. The more we sort of, as we start to get a more robust, let's say we really understand the model of Newtonian physics, now we understand that an object thrown, we understand why it's always going to have a parabolic shape. And we understand that because we have the model. We don't have to memorize formulas to see that. So the stronger the conceptual model of how something works, the easier it is. And then we can predict that, and then we're able not only to understand a phenomenon when we experience, but to make predictions on that phenomena. So
that's interesting.
But it's the same thing is true with history. If we sort of understand the way in which different forces in a society are affected by different change, similarly, we can make predictions. What would happen if food becomes scarce? What would happen if the taxes are raised? Those are things that we sort of, by learning sort of models of human behavior or societal behavior, those become things we understand better.
And that actually kind of, this whole thing about experience, more like experiencing learning instead of, being taught what to learn. You have this concept of 4 freedoms of learning.
Yes.
Can you talk about that
Sure.
a little bit more?
And they're really sort of, I call them the 4 freedoms of play, but then I argue that, in fact, that you need all of those
Play
present.
is learning.
Play is learning, that's right. And my point in sort of coming up with those terms is that sometimes even people who mean well, who want to make playful learning experiences or playful games, end up making them too restrictive, too narrow, in their focus, and that they don't allow that for a child to really learn. They need some freedom as they play, and so those freedoms are so the freedom to explore, just the freedom to sort of try different things out, not just do what you're told.
That's the first one, right?
Yeah, the first
freedom
one.
to explore.
And then freedom to fail. And there, the point I want to make is that a child that plays failing all the time. They're trying to make something happen, and like I said earlier, you're building a block tower, it falls down, and that's when you begin to understand engineering and physics, and you might build it over and over again, right? That's right.
You're learning models.
Yeah. freedom of identity, which is to say that in play we also sort of explore our identity and we learn, like role playing is a huge part of, and that's a huge part I think of listening to stories too, is we imagine ourselves in the shoes of the person in the story. That's sort of really about our own identity. When I listen to a story about a character, I'm sort of playing with identity even there. I'm imagining what if I was that character. And last is freedom of effort, which is just to say we need to sometimes play hard, sometimes play relaxed. Effort. We can't have anyone, a parent or a teacher, saying
always on.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Can't. That's too tiring.
Yes.
So just to be clear, like the first one is just making sure that you let children learn what they want to learn. Freedom, right?
Well, it's freedom to explore. It's also means the opportunity to really look at the qualities of something. So if a child tells you, I really want to, it's yes, you want to sort of help them learn what they want to learn, but it's also the way they do it. So if a child says, I want to learn all about dinosaurs, you don't just say, read the book on dinosaurs and then I'll give you a test. You really want to give them, maybe you give them 4 or 5 books on dinosaurs and you say, look at which ones interest you and see where that takes you and decide what you want to do next. So there's some freedom in terms of how a student explores.
So it's not really about what to learn, but it's like how
to learn it, right. Yeah. So one kid might want to build a model and another kid might want to draw a picture and another kid might want to write a story.
That's cool.
And so there needs to be, and so there needs to be freedom there. Freedom to fail, of course, is just that they shouldn't feel as if what's critical is that
the thing with the standardized test is like it makes you feel down, like
That's right.
especially if you get it wrong,
right.
like expectations and stuff like that. But play, you can fail all the time, right? Yeah.
Right, and you don't even think of it as failure.
Yeah,
I mean, you're just consistent. But most kids are consistently getting better at stuff as they play. So
that's failure. Right?
Yeah.